Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. There's Troy laughing with his gin and a grin, telling stories about where he's been. Boomer's got whiskey, he's loosening his tie, chasing dreams under a midday sky. The bartender knows us, he's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment we're happy to share. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. The sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh and we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Va salute and happy Tuesday. Hope today is a wonderful Tuesday for you. If not, I hope this liquid lunch makes it a little bit better. Oh, good. Let's start by saying hi to each and every one of you, starting with the first name I'm seeing here, Big Al of Big Al Presents. Happy Tuesday, Liquid Lunchers. Have a great show, Troy. Thought I am having is a craving for Indian pudding per Max Miller's show today. I did see that. And got involved in a very deep discussion in the comment section of that video. You might want to go check out. At one point in the video, he talks about pouring in some milk before baking to separate out the whey. And people are speculating. I made a comment saying, Max, you might want to think about, you probably just poured pasteurized milk into that, and they wouldn't have had pasteurized milk back then. So it's going to behave very differently. Someone else came in and pointed out, well, they also didn't homogenize, and there's that too, and da-da-da. And then they start getting into all this conversation about using yogurt or using buttermilk. And I'm like, guys, rein it in and think this through here, okay? If you start raising the fat content, you got to remember the whey is that you're intending to separate out separates out from curds. And so if you end up with a high fat content and a lot of curds, you're going to end up with a chunky, cheesy pudding, and that doesn't sound like good eats to me, you know? So anyway, just an interesting conversation that started over on Max Miller's video. But if you are into that kind of stuff, definitely check out Max Miller. Don't bother telling him I sent you, because he doesn't know who the hell I am. Mech Paul, I offer a thought. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. That was Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu has been translated into Klingon as well. I have the book. I have almost all the books that I'm aware of that have been done translated into Klingon under the seal of approval of the Klingon Language Institute. I'm not even making any of this up, folks. This is real stuff that I'm talking about here. The love of my life chatting me up in the chat saying like, share, subscribe, become a member, leave a comment, and gift a membership if you are feeling so generous and inclined this holiday season. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a channel member. You can help support this channel, keep it functioning, keep it running. If you like seeing me here every weekday, the only way I can do it is with your support. Among the other benefits of membership is, of course, the Monday night members exclusive film. That reminds me, I do need to get a poll up to see what the members want to watch this week. And of course, by gifting a membership, if you're already a member, you can help me reach my goal of 100 members by 2026. And if you share out this stream, actually share out this stream, any of my videos, or just share out a link to my channel, and ask your friends on social media to subscribe to me, you can help me reach 2,000 subscribers. That's key to the success of this channel. Because more eyes on this channel means more potential followers on a regular basis, sharing out the streams, and potentially greater members. But subscribing doesn't cost anything. Sharing it out doesn't cost anything but a few seconds of your time. Am I not worth a few seconds of your time to share out my channel and help me keep this thing going on? Gorilla's Random Thought says, Hopla! Success. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Jonathan Conroy says, hey, all. Smash the like button and enjoy the show. I do hope you enjoy the show. That is also key to my success. If you don't enjoy the show, you won't want to do any of the other clicky things. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, and become a member, or you might win an all-expense-paid trip to the penal asteroid Rurapente. Absolutely. Let's see here. Saying hi to each other, always good to see. And haven't seen you in a minute, CK. Longest running superhero RPG on Earth. Good to see you. Well, I just dropped a video yesterday. Please go check that out. It's a standalone video doing a deep dive on the history of various Kenner playsets related to the Star Wars Cantina. Because it's been something that a lot of people have been talking about lately with the HasLab and so forth. I am going to do a video on that HasLab very soon. Well, relatively soon. Depends on, how you take that. But in shorter order, I'm probably going to do a little bonus video that kind of bridges the gap between the video I dropped yesterday and the HasLab. There was a dry period in between the 80s when Kenner kind of stopped supporting Star Wars because there were no new movies, and the prequel era when we started getting new toys and new action figures. There was that middle thing, that middle time, the 90s, the Power of the Force, and there actually was a Cantina playset. There was actually two. They were basically repackaging of the same thing. During the Power of the Force. I'm going to do a brief little video about that as well. I kind of touch on the greater Power of the Force period too as I do that. And I'm doing that because I actually am surprised by how much. I haven't gotten a huge number of views on the video, don't get me wrong, and it's only been up for 24 hours. I'm surprised at the number of comments that I've gotten. From people I don't even know. Little deep dive for you older folks. Let me know in the chat if you catch that reference. But yeah, there was at least a couple of comments from people I'd never seen comment before, people I didn't know at all. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. People come and checking out my my toy videos. Maybe I need to start doing more of those. And Netter's like, yeah, try justifying all those toys you got cluttering up the house a little bit, maybe. So yeah, I might find myself doing a bit more of that. I know that some of my regulars might appreciate that. I'm looking at you, Tim Hayes, if you do stop by later. But yeah. So I would love to know. This is Thoughtful Tuesday. I always prefer to start out with you guys and find out what you guys are thinking about. What is on your mind today? What is happening in pop culture that you'd like to hear more about, hear my take on, hear my thoughts on? Maybe I have some insights. Maybe I don't. Maybe you share some of your own. Anything we brought up perhaps on Geeky Geezers on Sunday that you'd like to hear more about, that you're thinking about. Yesterday was Life Day. Would you like to hear more about that? Like I said, I dropped a video on Kenner play sets and action figures. Maybe you'd like to hear more about that. Maybe you'd like to hear more about the custom action figures that I shared last night. Let me know about that. And of course, this Friday, we have coming up a very special stream. At least it's special for me and Boomer. We're going to be talking about key moments in sci-fi from the 1970s. And as the week's going on, I seem to be refining my list of what I think those key moments are. Boomer has this great way of, I call him my designated driver, and I do that because he has a great way of kind of keeping me focused. Otherwise I kind of go off on tangents. And so I'm trying to refine what I'm talking about. He gave me, we're going to take 5 bullet points each. And I realized I had come up with 5 different sci-fi films from the 70s. And I'm like, but this isn't really just about sci-fi films. This is about key moments in sci-fi. So it could be TV, it could be toys, it could be, a zeitgeist of things. So I'm trying to rein it back from just the movies. But yeah, so those are some of the things I'm kind of thinking about. The shuttle Vacdouge is in the ship's repair. I'm very annoyed with the technician. Fingers hovering over the airlock release. I'm thinking the shuttle, like the Enterprise, should be hauled away as Vec. Yes. I don't know. Did I share about the incident I had with my shuttle recently? I took my car in to be looked at because it was the regular maintenance. I needed oil change. I needed filters changed, and I was specifically taking advantage of a deal that they were having on tires. I had all 4 of my tires replaced because, again, in the spring we're planning to drive down to Florida, which is a bit of a trek for MegaCon, to meet up with a lot of the other YouTube-y type streamers out there, and hopefully meet some of you guys out there. And so I brought it in, got the new tires, cost a pretty penny, and got off the lot, and the tire, the gauge was showing low tire pressure. So I immediately turned around, came back, and said, "Hey guys, you just put new tires in. It's showing low pressure. Come on, you guys didn't get something right." So he has me pull over. He checks the pressure, and he says, "Okay, I've topped it off." I said, "Talk to your guys. When you put in new tires, make sure you get the pressure right." I drove off, and I was halfway home, and the light comes on again, and I'm like, "The hell!" So I actually had to make a stop because I was like, I have to do something before the store closes. Got back. I was not in a good mood. And I pull in, and the guy's like, do you have an appointment? I'm like, I had an appointment 5 hours ago when I came in and had new tires put in. This is now the third time I'm here today. I want you to take a look at these tires and figure out what the hell's wrong. I said, this is the second time I came in because the pressure's wrong, which shouldn't have happened after you put new tires in. I said, figure this out. I'm not happy. So they go. I'm sitting for like another hour because they got to bring it in, take the tires off, check everything. Comes back and he's like, okay, you shouldn't have any problem. We checked the tire pressure. The first guy had told me that the pressure was wrong, so he fixed the tire pressure. This guy was telling me, we checked, the valves are all okay, everything's fine with the brand new tires. They had overfilled the tires. I'm like, wait, you mean to tell me I brought the car in for new tires, you put in new tires, they got the pressure wrong, so I had to come back. The guy that came, that decided to fix it, overfilled my tires, so I had to bring it back yet again. Who do you have working on these tires? You might want to take them back for a little bit of basic training. You know, I was not happy at all. So basically, that's a long-winded story to tell you, yeah, I get what you're saying, Mark. Totally there. Who was it who said their wife got them the stuffed bantha? I forgot to write it down, so I can. I believe that was Booger. Netter. Pretty sure it was. It takes 24 hours before we can see the chat from last night's stream, so otherwise we're going to have to wait to double check that. Or maybe there's a way I can download it. No, I didn't save the stream here in EVMux, so I can't do it in EVMux. Got to wait for YouTube to put the chat back. So, yeah, don't make a Klingon unhappy. You wouldn't like us when we are unhappy. And welcome, Connie. Hail, chat. Sorry I'm late. Had trouble getting checked into my appointment. Oh, I hate that. I did mention yesterday that I had a doctor's appointment. Went in for the doctor's appointment. Went a little bit early and was out early. My appointment was for 3 p.m. I was out of the office by 3:03 p.m. Actually, I was in the car pulling out of the driveway and noticed that it was 3:03. So that was pretty good. That was not bad, which did allow me to get that video done last night that I put out. That I would love it if you guys would go check out and let me know what you all think about it. Yes, I did get some great comments about the Kenner Cantina Encounter playset. I was very pleased with the way the footage turned out. Little peek behind the curtain on that video. Whether you saw it or not, it's worth knowing about. I do show the functionality of the door, but any of you that ever played with that Kenner playset knows that that door setup, which is on it's basically on a hinge with little tabs held in tension by rubber bands, so that when you step on a little trigger, the doors pop open. And those doors, when they pop open, they pop up open with force. And for me, the whole thing just would fly apart. So I used no rubber band, and I used a jump cut to, have the guy step, and then in the next scene, they're open, and it looks like they popped open. You might not notice it without me having mentioned that, but once I've mentioned it, you're like, oh, yep, I can see that. You definitely see that. Then, of course, I do the Obi-Wan cutting down Ponto Baba, Han Solo shooting Greedo, And I thought both of those turned out pretty good, considering how old my my Kenner playset is. When I was a kid, I remember that the mechanism was very tight, and it would just snap, and things would pop up, almost to the point where other action figures standing around the set would pop and fall. But did Bobby Blankenship, welcome, stopped, must have been watching it as I was talking about it. Still didn't notice. Well, that's good. I guess that was pretty good editing. Like I said, I'm really glad with how that turned out. Okay, so bonus fact, you may or may not notice, but now you can go back and watch it again and look really close. The archway of that doorway, the swinging doors, and the stickers are all reproductions. Those are 3D printed. Because it's just so costly to try and replace things fresh. And I gotta be honest, I feel like, despite the fact that I really probably should sand that side part, although it is painted, so on camera it looks fine. The doors are a more rigid plastic than the original ones were, so I feel like they work better as a mechanism, to be honest. One side of the archway is very, very tight, so it's not going to fly off. The other side, really, really loose. So it's a little bit of a give and take. But overall, I'd say these repros are actually 3D printed. 3D printed. I feel are actually an improvement on the original pieces, the original molded plastic. Also, because I didn't want to bother with the cost and expense of an original backdrop that honestly is going to be, 40 years old. Not worth it. I went ahead and printed up my own. Looks good enough for the video, and I'm happy with it. And if you are very interested in that playset, I would recommend doing a little search on YouTube. There are people who have done conversions of the Kenner Cantina playset to a Western theme, with a different backdrop, obviously, different stickers. And you can get online from various Etsy stores, people have 3D printed saloon-style doors that you wouldn't want to have hooked up to the mechanism, but, open, close by walking through them just like you would in an old Western-style saloon. And the reason that that's cool is because there were 3 3/4 inch Lone Ranger and various Western characters back in the late 70s, early 80s. I just thought that was kind of interesting, kind of a cool... yes, Batwing doors. That's what they're called. Thank you very much. Batwing doors. So you can do that too. Or, if you're terribly clever, you could probably fashion your own. I would use balsa wood and carve them and stain them. I think that would look really, really nice if you're particularly skilled. But there are people doing pretty good work with 3D prints. Heck, if you have a 3D printer, sometimes for like pennies, $1 or so, you can get from people the 3D files and then just print them out yourself. It's a thought, anyway. But yeah, that's my little side thought about the video that I put out yesterday. If there's nothing else you guys specifically want to talk about, I do have an article pulled up that I haven't quite read yet, but I've already got some thoughts about that I'd like to share. But you know what? We are at, we're not quite at the midway mark, but before I transition into another topic, maybe we should just hit very briefly, just under 2 minutes, what we got coming up this week, and then we'll get to the article.
You're watching Liquid Lunch, streaming every weekday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's sip together.
This week, on Last Call Presents The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, a gentleman is baffled when the childish drawings of little dancing men terrify his American wife. Sherlock Holmes soon discovers why. It's the dancing men. This week on Last Call Presents, Tuesday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern.
This week, on Saturday Night at the Movies, John McClane must race against time to save hundreds of lives, including his wife's, when a group of terrorists take control of Washington Dulles Airport's systems and threaten to crash several planes if their demands are not met. It's the beloved Christmas classic sequel, Die Hard 2, this week on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, Saturday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern.
In a world where nearly all the entertainment is remakes, reboots, and rehashes of older properties, maybe it's worth it to get some commentary from people who experienced it all when it was novel and fresh. Catch Boomer and Pacelli on Geeky Geezers every Sunday night at 8 Central, 9 Eastern.
We now return to our liquid lunch.
Yep, I knew that Big Al didn't catch the stream yesterday, so I was like, oh, it's too bad he's not going to see it probably till tomorrow. Lies. And yes, Bobby, I am doing my own promos. In fact, I do promos as well for other channels, just because together we grow. Look, if we have to deal with all these commercials that YouTube is going to throw at you for a bunch of crap you're not even interested in, at least let me promote the other things I've got going on the channel and what other people are doing on their channels that you probably would be interested in. And I try to make them entertaining, like commercials used to be. There used to be a time we would watch commercials and enjoy them almost as much as the shows. You know, I remember, what was it? Was it Taster's Choice or Folgers? I forget. That seemed to have a series of videos that linked up in an ongoing dramatic story. Anthony Stewart Head, I believe, was featured in those. Kind of a rom-com kind of a thing going on, as you know, impersonating a coffee commercial. Just my take on it, but there you go. But anyway, yes. Oh, you know what? Boomer and I should probably do a stream talking about some of our favorite commercials. Mentos, fresh and full of life. Yes, and that was so memeable. Right? The Mentos commercials, because what you invariably have, and now I see Netter watching these video shorts, you know, telling stories. They're like TikTok-y type videos where people are telling these stories that just get you pissed off. They're ridiculous. You can't really believe them. But yeah, my family they're all assholes and they treated me like crap. But you know, when my uncle died and I inherited everything, you know, I shut them all up because whatever. The Mentos commercials were like that. You always had this little scenario where some people were being complete dicks and putting someone in a bad circumstance, and they'd be like, huh. But then they'd have a Mento, and then they'd get all clever, and then they'd find some way to circumvent the situation, and, you know, she'd kind of show the Mentos like a thumbs up to the people that were dicks to her. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's more like a middle finger, but, you know. Anyway, but I used to love those commercials, you know. there was a lot of commercials like that. I remember a holiday commercial about a brother coming back for the holidays. That one became very, very infamous. It was memeable before memes existed, and I believe it was either Saturday Night Live or maybe it was Mad TV or something did a a parody of it because it was such an obvious one. Anthony Head and Sharon Morgan, the Gold Blend couple, was a British television advertising campaign for Nescafe Gold Blend instant coffee. That's what it was. But they did those in the U.S. too. Did they like rework them for the purpose of an American brand? I remember them on American television because I don't think I would remember Nescafe Gold Blend, but I would remember some of the American blends. Gold Blend was called Taster's Choice in the U.S. Okay, so they basically just took the commercials they did in Britain and made them Taster's Choice here in the United States. There you go. That's what I was looking for, Big Al. Thank you. See, I knew you had me covered on that one. Thank you. But thank you so much for dropping that link for me. Make sure you check that out when you guys get a chance. Taster's Choice. A bean water. Yeah, that's basically what it was. I am not going to poo-poo instant coffees, by the way, because they're kind of fine. There's kind of nothing wrong with them. Perfectly good. You can make them as strong as you want. They're great for camping trips, and that stuff keeps indefinitely. After the zombie attacks, you can still get your coffees. Is what I'm basically saying. Assuming you stock up. So let's go to this article. Basically, because I haven't read it, but I've got some thoughts based on the title. Let me share my screen. Full screen. You don't need the sound because it's just an article. Add to the scene. So mainstream media says the problem with Star Wars is not enough Pedro Pascal. Yeah, that's the problem. So, whoops. Well, this is by Marvin Montanaro. He's a good guy and a great writer. Definitely check him out. It was an accident that I pulled that up, but what the hey. Let's back up and get back to this. So mainstream media says the problem with Star Wars is not enough Pedro Pascal. I'm going to predict what we're going to see in this commercial. Yeah, we're still talking about commercials there in the chat. I think what media is going to get at is they want more Mandalorian, is probably what they're getting at. But we'll see if it really is about Pedro Pascal itself. Walmart brand isn't bad. Okay, that's interesting. This has to be a troll article. No, I don't think it is. See, unfortunately, we've gotten to the point of Poe's Law maximum. And by that, what I mean is you see a headline that you think, okay, this has got to be a joke. This has to be clickbait. This has to be, a parody or something. Nope. We just live in such bizarre-ass times that it's true. And outlets like that Park Place have to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. Let's look at this. Yeah, we need more Pedro Pascal. Okay. Star Wars is limping into its next chapter with confidence only Hollywood could muster. The kind born not from success, but from denial. Yes, that's very true. The franchise is in shambles. The audience has evaporated. The brand is no longer protected by the mythic glow it once carried. And yet, according to the mainstream access media, the big revelation, the galaxy-saving insight, is that the way to save Star Wars is more Pedro Pascal. Yeah. Okay. Except this is a joke sketch on Saturday Night Live, so okay. Welcome to Stark of Iron. Good to see you, my friend. Haven't seen you in a minute. Glad you are here. As Bobby, you were talking about the promos that I'm doing. Those were inspired by Stark of Iron. He's doing those over on his channel, and I was like, what a brilliant idea. It kind of saves on the chit-chat at the end of the stream about what's coming up, you know. And I find it to be far more entertaining that way. After a year in which Pascal's headlined 2 box office flops, insulted half the country, and ignored a string of controversies, the access media outlets now insist the real problem with Star Wars is that we aren't seeing enough of the man who couldn't sell tickets to the Fantastic Four First Steps or Edgington. Good point. Let's double down on a lack of success. The logic is astounding. The franchise is collapsing. The star is ice cold at the box office. And somehow Disney's way out is to plaster his face everywhere like it's the magic elixir. What is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for different results. Or as I like to say, it's going for the milk, finding it chunky, and putting it back in the refrigerator hoping it will be better tomorrow. The claim that Star Wars needs an immediate infusion of Pedro Pascal came from Screen Rant, because of course it did. They argue that Lucasfilm has learned a vital lesson about Pedro Pascal, specifically that his face is now more valuable to Star Wars than the Mandalorian helmet that built the character's popularity in the first place. I strongly disagree. Most fans, even the new fans, even the ones that, aren't diehard old school fans, said the Mandalorian is the helmet. It's the guy that's walking around who usually isn't Pedro Pascal. The less he talks, the better. The less we see him, the better. Maintain the mystery. When Boba Fett takes his mask off, when the Mandalorian takes their mask off, you lose all the mystery. You don't need the backstory. You don't need the deep dive explanation of the traumatic childhood. You just want to see the badass and speculate why he might be a badass. But that's too much like understanding storycraft and understanding your audience and understanding your franchise, which Disney clearly does not in any of those things. The article claims Pascal has become as iconic as the helmet. No, he's become idiotic. That's what he's become. Suggests that Din Djarin's silhouette is now less important than Pascal's star power. Bullshit. What star power? Show me the receipts, because I show him losing money at the box office. That's his star power. His star power is to drive people away. And predicts Disney will amend the story in The Mandalorian and Grogu so Pascal appears helmetless more often. In other words, Screen Rant insists the franchise should shift away from the mythic masked gunslinger and instead spotlight Pedro Pascal himself as the emotional centerpiece going forward. So, I mentioned the receipts. Let's look at the receipts. It would be one thing if Pedro Pascal were coming off of a streak of hits, but in 2025 he delivered a perfect 0 for 3. The Materialist, 108 million worldwide, modest profit, far from a hit. Edgington, 12.7 million worldwide, flop. It lost money. Fantastic Four First Steps, 521 million worldwide on a massive budget and marketing campaign. The numbers are still coming in on that, but it was a major blockbuster bomb, as that Park Place puts it. They lost money. They absolutely did. One film barely broke even, 2 lost money, and yet the coverage today treats Pedro Pascal like the unbreakable box office motivator who must be unleashed on Star Wars to save it. Let me put a very sharp point on this. Star power doesn't exist anymore. There is no name, none, in Hollywood making movies these days that brings people in by their name alone. The reason I feel confident saying that is because the first name people think of when they think star power, gotta see it, very popular, is that Sweeney girl. What's her name? Help me out with her first name, guys. You guys know who I'm talking about. Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. I think she's absolutely lovely. Anything I've seen her in, I liked fine. She was definitely way underused in the Madam Web movie. But people point to this boxing movie that she did, just Sydney Sweeney. Thank you, Netter. Sydney Sweeney. That didn't do well. Honestly, like I said, it has nothing to do with her. It has to do with nobody is going to the theaters anymore. Hollywood has much, much larger problems than their star power. That's just one symptom of a much larger disease in Hollywood. The Screen Rant article argues, in effect, that Star Wars has learned a vital lesson about Pascal, that Din Djarin's... Oh, yeah, I already said that. This stance isn't coming from fans. It's not coming from critics. It's certainly not coming from the numbers. Absolutely true. Jeez. It's coming from media outlets desperate to revive both a declining brand and a declining star. After a rough 2025, Pascal is suddenly the focus of a mini rebrand, glowing press puff pieces, and why he matters more than ever features. There's a push to make him the emotional center of a franchise currently decorated with empty seats. Let me pull back on that, look behind it, and say, why would outlets like Screen Rant be trying to push Papa Pascal? It's because they want to not allow you to turn your head away from their DEI, neo-Marxist messaging, and this is the poster boy for all that crap. They need you to love him. Get behind the message. Get behind the message. Even though you don't care. It's like trying to hold on to water. This is part of the access media keeps ignoring. The Mandalorian success became Din Djarin was a faceless, stoic, masculine protector, not because he's Pedro Pascal. Bingo. First two seasons were very well received, even among people like myself who were just resisting and saying, I don't want anything to do with anything Disney's doing. It's been going down in ratings, down in popularity. The helmet was the brand. The silhouette was the brand. The mystery was the brand. The minute that mask came off, the illusion breaks. A tough lone wolf warrior energy evaporates. The character stops being mythic and becomes a man associated with grasping at his co-star's over anxiety and dancing around while licking a rainbow-colored rod. That's literally true. Trying to fix Star Wars by making it more about an actor than the role is exactly the kind of Hollywood mistake that gets franchises in trouble. Star Wars has never been about star power. And if it were to suddenly become about star power, the last person on earth you could give it that is Pedro Pascal. On top of the weak box office numbers, Pascal has become one of the most divisive figures in Hollywood because of his own antagonistic, bizarre, and very public behavior. Yup. And just a reminder, at the time that came out, his co-star, Gina Carano, was being rebuffed for just saying, can't we all just get along? Let's not let history repeat itself. Just saying. From repeatedly using this platform to attack political opponents to inflammatory posts that alienate half the country, Pascal has steadily carved out a reputation as a celebrity who cannot stay out of the culture war firefights. But the controversy doesn't stop at politics. Pascal has also developed a pattern of overly physical, handsy, and overly affectionate interactions with female co-stars during red carpet events and promotional appearances. These moments, lingering touches, rubbing shoulders, face cupping, extended hugs, and boundary-pushing playful gestures have circulated widely online. These generated reactions ranging from awkward laughter to open discomfort, and they've repeatedly gone viral for all the wrong reasons. Of course, I would argue that most of the people that are pointing that out are really just trying to point out the double standard. If you have the right views and you push the right messages, you can get away with all this. But if you are not, way to the left, shall we say, you get #MeToo and you lose your job. Double standards. If it weren't for double standards, some of these people wouldn't have any standards at all. Whether he intended these interactions to come off as charming or anxious doesn't change how they received awkward, intrusive, and unprofessional. So what invariably has been happening is these co-stars will come out and go, oh, no, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. This was not unwanted attention, blah, 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 this and that, making up stories for him. Again, if he had different viewpoints, they'd be going, yeah, he makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, #MeToo, all that kind of stuff. There'd be lawsuits and so forth. I don't care how this woman feels about being touched like this because they're doing it in public in front of a camera. It is open to interpretation. I am allowed to have my own opinions about this. This isn't something you're doing in private. Put it in front of the public gets to have an opinion about it. Done. None of this screams safe, stable, controversy-free star to rebuild a billion-dollar franchise around. The idea that Star Wars can be repaired by focusing more on an overexposed celebrity instead of its world, story, and core mythology is a spectacular misread of what fans actually want. That could be applied to all of the entertainment industry. It doesn't just apply to Star Wars. People didn't fall in love with Star Wars because of faces and fame. Think about it. Who the hell knew who Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, even Harrison Ford were? The big names in that movie were Sir Alec Guinness, Peter Cushing. Those were the big names. Most people didn't even really know who James Earl Jones was. His voice was not that recognizable. Some of him might have known him from Roots. I believe he was the narrator. So people assumed he was Alex Haley for a long period of time there. But it wasn't the star power. The movies made them stars, not the other way around. People, they fell in love with myth, mystery, adventure, and archetypes. But these neo-Marxists don't know how to use those elements anymore in storytelling. This is why the helmet work and why the franchise faltered the moment it got high on its own PR supply. If Disney's plan is to double down on Pedro Pascal, push his face to the forefront, and pretend the numbers don't exist, then Star Wars isn't being saved. It's being sacrificed to the marketing department. The mainstream media can claim the problem with Star Wars is not enough Pedro Pascal, but the receipts tell a different story. Box office flops, increasing controversy, vanishing audience goodwill, and a franchise that desperately needs course correction, not a face to worship. Something else they didn't mention there, toy sales way, way down. If anything, Disney's best... real quick comment to the toy thing. For almost a decade now, people have been pointing out, nobody is interested in buying toys of Disney Star Wars. They want all the classic stuff. The original trilogy, to some degree, the prequel stuff. Even that, people are buying less and less of, because we don't need another iteration of Luke Skywalker. We don't need another action figure of Han Solo. We have these figures in every costume they ever wore, in every pose they ever made, in every scene-specific shot they ever did. We don't need more of those figures. So those sales are even starting to fall off too. If anything, Disney's best bet is the opposite. Keep the helmet on, keep the mystery alive, and quietly hope the general audience forgets who's under there. Actually, I'll take it a step further. Actually recast the Mandalorian. Whoever the stunt guy is, who's always wearing that costume, for Pedro Pascal to voice over, have him start playing the Mandalorian. We don't see his face. We don't know the difference. We go for a season of not seeing his face. And then if we do see his face again, we don't mind so much. This is a trick that comes from daytime dramas when they used to recast an actor. There was a character named Max Holden on One Life to Live. Now, I'm going to forget the actors' names. Doesn't matter. The guy that played Max for years was going to leave the show, and they wanted to replace him. They didn't want to end his storylines. So what they did was they had the character get into a terrible accident. He's in the hospital. A lot of people thought he was dead. Some people knew he was still alive, and his face was all bandaged up. And for weeks, it was still the same actor. You heard his voice. And over time, he got more gravelly with his voice, and eventually the actor changed, still doing the gravelly voice. Can I get a drink of water? Stuff like that. When you'd start hearing his voice more normal again, you might have kind of forgotten what his voice sounded like before. Now you're used to his voice, and then eventually they take the bandages off. I don't even recognize you. You look completely different. It's because he is completely different. It's a very clever way to recast a role. They could learn, and this kind of thing totally lends itself to that sort of this moron. Because more Pedro Pascal in Star Wars isn't a solution. It's another symptom of how lost the franchise has become. So let me quickly get back to your comments before we wrap for today. Let's see. Curtis, welcome by the way, Curtis Selby, says, if I remember correctly, if I remember right, I gave Fantastic Four a solid D. It was fun to watch, mainly because I could riff on it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Boba Fett and The Mandalorian absolutely fill the architect of Clint Eastwood. That is why when Boba Fett is first introduced in Empire Strikes Back, you hear him walking with spurs, even though the character doesn't actually have spurs. You could believe that the Chingle Changle is from his armor. Let's see. I love the first season, and exactly, he is a masculine protector, something we don't hardly see in film anymore. I wanted to like Pedro Pascal, but after all of the BS, I'm kind of done with him now. So my first experience with Pedro Pascal was the Dornish character that he played in Game of Thrones. Loved him in that. He was great in that. Again, very masculine character. Gets killed off very quickly, but that was the character he was playing. So when he was cast as the Mandalorian, I was like, I could get behind this. I was okay with not seeing his face. If we were going to see his face, it should have been, they should have stuck to their storyline of this is the way, and, you know, the whole sect that doesn't allow their face to be seen. That was very compelling storytelling. And then they just abandoned it for star power. That didn't work out very well for them. My liberal friends tried to say, well, Gina signed a contract. Sure she did. So did he. And you're telling me that the hot girl is expendable, but the guy in the mask isn't? Exactly. Like I said, double standards. And they will find ways to equivocate. They'll bend logic to the breaking point. Fruity Pebbles are my favorite cereal. I refuse to eat 5 boxes in a row. Can I get some Golden Grams? Good analogy, my friend. To be clear, the article I mentioned was the original and not the second one, reacting to the first one. I should have specified. Okay, fair enough. Fletcher Williams, I Suck at Gaming channel. Smashing like and leaving a comment for the win. I appreciate that, my friend. Gotta dip out. Sorry, I didn't see that you were here, Potts, but welcome and bye. Listening at work. Talk hard, brother. Yes, thank you, my friend. Super appreciate it. Geek Flag with Nate Knows comes to say like, share, subscribe, comment, and become a member. And if you were going to give a super chat of $5 or more, why not make that a gifted membership instead to help our family grow? That's a great idea, my friend. Great way to support. I super appreciate that. No reason to be sorry. This is Liquid Lunch. You guys have different lunch schedules. You do what you can. You can always catch it on the repeat. No problem. I just watched the Fantastic Four this morning. It was better than Fan Four Stick, and it was not better than the first 2 movies, but their Galactus was better. There you go. Absolutely. I could have kind of gotten behind the Galactus cloud idea if they had done it right, if they'd thought it through better. Because I like the idea of that Lovecraftian, hard to conceive of image of these gods, right? Because honestly, giant, humanoid creatures, it's kind of weird when you think about it. You do get into the kaiju element of it. And they, in the Kirby days, they even said this isn't his actual appearance. This is just how you perceive him. So the idea of an elemental cloud could work just as well, I suppose. Even the idea of moving between forms might actually play out well if they thought it through. But again, these storytellers can't, tell stories. Biggest problem was the VFX and the casting. I agree. And I watched The Mandalorian for Grogu anyway. Yeah, well, therein lies the other problem, because they decided not to make it about Grogu. They decided to make Grogu a marketing item and focus on the Mandalorian, which was why Grogu couldn't stay with Luke and then do something with the new Jedi Order or something like that. Again, these guys really don't know what they're doing. Anyway, guys, want to wrap this up because I am starting to run long. But the reason I run long is because I love hanging out with all of you. That's why I do this. Make sure you hit that like button. Share out this stream. Help me get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if you're not a member, please consider becoming a member. If you are a member, I can't express my appreciation enough. And the next thing up, of course, is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Tonight, right here on this channel. Hope you can join us. The game is afoot. Take care, my friends. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high noon.